Ted, another edition of Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland.
Ken, I missed you last week.
A lot of people
missed me last week.
Episode 73. We could talk about that. First and foremost, this episode podcast is dedicated to two wonderful people that wore 73 for the Cleveland Browns, Joe Thomas and the ever-famous Doug Deacon. So hats off to both of those gentlemen.
Number 73. Offense, 10-yard penalty, still third down. And Joe, I'm not talking about Joe Thomas.
Nope. Well, once again, to our fan base, and I actually had a lot of people reach out to me last week, which obviously means a lot when, certainly we've done consecutive weeks of this show, but you and I had a conversation and basically life got in the way a little bit of our podcast. Your business has been busy. I've kind of done some different things with work, and that's kind of taken on some stuff. And then obviously you throw in the mix of personal stuff. And we just kind of ran out of time. So for all our audience out there, I think we're going to go a little bit different direction with the show. And Ted, do you want to announce what we're going to be doing here moving forward?
Hold on. Let me get a drum roll. Okay, there we go. Drum roll. We are going to continue the show every other week.
Yep.
Every 2 weeks now. We're going to cut back a little bit. That'll make it easier for us to get you a show all the time. You'll know when we're going to be here. And maybe you won't be quite as annoyed with our jokes. I think
that's a possibility. You have a week to recuperate, as they say.
I think we should, we had some personal problems. We should be all Hollywood. We had personal problems. We couldn't do the show last week. We could do that. Or we could say, Ken and Ted really don't like each other. And there was a big blow up. And as a result, they're not on. The only time they talk is on the podcast. And so because of that, they had to skip a week. Now, let's be honest. Part of that is somewhat true. How often do we have time to talk when we're not on the podcast recently?
Not as much as we used to, let's be honest.
But we can't, there's no good, we don't have any good, dirty,
No, I was going to go on this episode and basically give you the silent treatment and say nothing for 30 seconds. Ted, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So there you go.
But remember that theme, nothing. That might play into something later.
Okay. All right. Well, so every 2 weeks we will be here. Now, since we missed a week, we're going to tell you what's coming up on this week's show. Because we missed a week, we have not one, but two Misspeaks of the week.
Boom.
There's a possibility one of them might not be from President Biden, but I don't know that both of them won't be. Cleveland sports history. We remember a big win for the Indians 67 years ago. We have good news about the Cleveland Metroparks and a woman in Maine who has been trapping lobsters for a long time. In Klopp's Klips, a lawyer gets cited for disorderly conduct. We'll tell you why. Our Overachiever has a big green thumb. And in Cleveland Chronicles, we remember a downtown department store known for its 60-foot tall Christmas tree. All that, plus you can really buy this. And we'll get in the ring with Steve Muehlhausen from DAZN.com to talk boxing and wrestling.
Time for Where That Come From. We look at a common phrase and explain its meaning. Today we look at It's Raining Cats and Dogs. I've heard you say this multiple times. It means it's raining very hard. I actually think I knew that. I think you did too.
Yep.
Now, this idiom has two possible origin stories. The first explanation says that the phrase comes from Norse mythology, where cats would symbolize heavy rains and dogs were associated with the god of storms, Odin. Odin? I don't have my glasses on, man.
Odin.
There it is.
Here's your good eye.
That's dirty.
That's a me, right?
The second version says that in the 16th century, England, houses had thatched roofs, which were one of the few places where animals could get warm. Sometimes when it would rain heavily, roofs would get slippery and cats and dogs would slide off, making it look like it's raining cats and dogs. I did not think that had anything to do with a cat or a dog on a roof falling off. That is.
Before we close this segment, I have a quick story. Okay. My wife went camping with our oldest son for Cub Scouts this past weekend.
Okay.
During the night, she said she heard an owl capture an animal, maybe kill the animal. I said, well, how do you know? She said, well, this is what she heard. And she said it was like screaming. She heard, whoo, whoo, whoo.
Oh, wow. I think that's a National Geographic going on.
Yeah.
There. Nice.
That's what you hear, apparently, when an owl, you get the scream of the animal and then, ooh, ooh. Well, there you go. A little extra there.
Well, it's raining cats and dogs. Now we know where that came from.
Ken, are you ready for the Misspeak of the week?
I'm ready. Let's roll.
All right. We have two of them, and
Sweet.
At least one is not from President Biden.
Wow. I'm actually shocked on that.
Yeah. The first Misspeak of the week goes to Paul Allen and Pete Bursich on the Minnesota Vikings radio network. 2 Sundays ago, the Vikings trailed the Cardinals 34-33 with 4 seconds left. Greg Joseph lined up for a game-winning 37-yard field goal. Here is the call.
High snap, put down. Joseph, come on! It is gone! No, he missed it. Good. Are you kidding me? He missed it right.
He missed it right.
Oh, my heavens.
Oh, my.
He missed it right.
It's good. No, it's not.
No, it's not. I like how the guy says, come on!
Yeah!
No.
Not to be outdone.
Aren't you glad we have Jim Donovan and Doug Deacon calling our games? My God.
Yes. And not to be outdone, President Biden has formed a new military alliance with Britain and Australia to share advanced technologies. And he did so at a press conference, which was flanked by TVs showing the leaders of Britain and Australia.
Thank you, Boris. And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
So we know
Fella from down under.
Yeah, we know one guy's name. We don't know the other. So we're just the fellow from down under.
Get the man a cue card. Give him the names of who he's talking to.
Well,
I don't understand why they allow this to happen every time.
Let's be clear. That fella down under is Australia's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. You should Google search if you have a chance. That fella down under and see what the Australian media thought of President Biden's attempt at recalling their leader's name.
I can imagine they were just absolutely thrilled.
Tickled.
Just thrilled.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there you go. It's good. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh, there's that fella from down under. We got it all on the Misspeaks of the week.
Cleveland! This is for you!
All right, another edition of This Week in Cleveland Sports, September 18th, 1954. This is a date I think many people remember. Cleveland Indians clinched the American League pennant, setting a record for the most regular season victories with 111. Unfortunately, they go on to lose the World Series to the New York Giants in a 4-game sweep. We bring in our Cleveland sports historian, Dusty Sloan. And Dusty, this is certainly a team that many people have talked about for years. And most people know the date 1954 because that was certainly a very important time for Cleveland baseball. But what can you tell us about that team? And obviously, many people remember that they did get upset by the New York Giants in a 4-game sweep.
Absolutely. I mean, people talk about the 1948 Indians, and there was a lot of hope that the 54 Indians would do a very similar thing and win the World Series. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way. Very similar, the 1954 team to the 1995 team, in that it had such an amazing regular season, but just couldn't finish it off in the World Series. And looking at this day, September 18th, when the Indians clinched the pennant, 3-2 win over the Tigers in Detroit, And again, all these names that you remember with the Indians, you've heard over the years, Larry Doby, Al Rosen, Vic Wirtz, Jim Hegan. Early Wynn was the starting pitcher and went 6 2/3 that day. And it really was the gold standard, along with that 48 team, for those Cleveland Indians teams. And then all of a sudden, as we all know, for the next 40 years, there was a lot of losing between 54 and 95. But yeah, there's still a lot of reverence for the 1954 team, and there ought to be.
Now, the 111 victories, the season was shorter back then. So that's even more impressive than 111 victories in a 162 game season. Am I right on that, Dusty?
Absolutely, because and that's where the parallel between 54 and 95 also comes into play too, because remember in 95 we had the strike shortened season because they had a second spring training once the strike ended. So that team only played 144 games. So yeah, those parallels between 54 and 95 really kind of stand out. And yes, they aren't the 162 game seasons we're accustomed to now.
One other thing to bring up about this season, obviously the big thing is obviously with the Indians losing the World Series to the Giants. Was that not the same time where Willie Mays made that unbelievable catch behind over his shoulder? Isn't that the series that this came from, Dusty?
I believe you are correct. Yes, the infamous Willie Mays catch that, and again, when you talk about the New York Giants, I mean, my goodness, it starts and ends with Willie Mays, right? I mean, yeah. You talk about one of the great players in the history of baseball. You say Willie Mays, and everybody's eyes light up, particularly in New York, particularly in San Francisco, where there's so much reverence for a guy like that. One of the great players who just stands the test of time. And when you're talking about a guy like Willie Mays, just in and of himself, it just made those New York Giants teams very difficult to beat.
And of course, we're talking about parallels. Willie Mays plays for the New York Giants. And then, of course, Willie Mays Hayes winds up for the Cleveland Indians.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and Willie Mays Hayes made those types of catches too, remember?
Yeah. You know? He runs like Mays and he hits like Hayes.
Nice catch, Hayes. Don't do it again. So great stuff. Well, Dusty, thanks for going back with us for a very great Cleveland Indians team from September 18th, 1954. As many people know, a pennant-setting record for the most regular season victories. Unfortunately, fell to the World Series champs, the New York Giants, in a 4-game sweep. Dusty, we appreciate your time. Have a great day, sir.
As always, thanks, guys.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Ted, more good news. The Cleveland Metroparks was awarded the 2021 National Gold Medal Best in Nation Award for Excellence in Parks and Recreation Management from the National Recreation and Park Association and the American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration. What an award. The award recognizes long-range planning, resource management, volunteerism, environmental stewardship, program development, professional development, and agency recognition. We got the gold in the nation for our parks. How about that? That is absolutely outstanding. Congratulations.
Well, the Metroparks, that we have a great system here.
We're very lucky.
Ohio. So congratulations to them. That's awesome. We also have some good news out of Maine, Ken.
Ooh.
A woman there has been trapping lobsters for a while. She started at age 8. She was 8 before World War II.
Oh, wow.
The traffic signal was a new invention then. The lobsters at that point in history fetched 28 cents a pound. Now it's 15 times that. Today, at 101 years old,
whoa,
Virginia Oliver is still trapping. She and her son work their traps in Rockland, Maine. Her son, Max, he's 78.
Oh, he's a youngster.
Yeah. Virginia says, I've done it all my life, so I might as well keep doing it. She had a little scare a couple of years ago when a crab snipped her finger. She had to get some stitches. However, she never considered hanging up the lobster traps.
God bless.
101 years old, still going.
Still going it. And then bringing her young son of 78 around to help her. That's great.
He's the young one of the group, and he's 78.
Oh, wow. Great story.
Well, there you go. Awesome stuff. and definitely some good news.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Klips.
All right, Ken, news you probably haven't heard but should have. We start in Boston, where a house has sold for $1.25 million. The unique part here is that it is the so-called skinny house. The home was built in 1862. It's 4 stories and 10 feet wide at its widest point. 10 feet wide. It narrows to about 9.25 feet wide in the back. Local lore says 2 brothers inherited the land. When one of them joined the army, the other built a large house that took up most of the land. When the soldier brother returned, he built the skinny house to block his brother's view and sunlight. So there.
Seems like they're bickering like us. You
Yeah.
know? My gosh.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm so upset with you. I'm going to build this house to block your view and sunlight. Boom.
Darn it. An Oklahoma woman got more than she wanted when grabbing a bag of frozen pizza rolls at the grocery store. Shirley Wright Johnson says when she grabbed the bag, she discovered that someone had pooped in the freezer.
Oh, come on. Jeez. Oh.
Cops checked surveillance footage to identify a person of interest in the anonymous pooping. The person of interest was already being booked in jail on unrelated charges, so the poop probe continues.
Wasn't there a story that you read about a guy from Akron or in Akron running around and doing kind of the same thing throughout neighborhoods? I remember that from a couple
recall
years ago.
that, yes.
I don't think it's him. I'm not saying that's the reason I brought that up. But I'm just saying this could happen anywhere. There it is.
Always good when you can work poop into a
Yep.
set. Yeah.
Yep.
A Texas lawyer facing disorderly conduct charges after being caught walking on a beach dressed like Michael Myers from Halloween, the Halloween movies. I know this will come as a surprise. Police got a 911 call about a guy walking on the shore carrying a bloody knife. It wasn't until after cuffing the guy that the cops realized that the knife and the blood were fake. Attorney Mark Metzger III took to Facebook to provide an explanation saying, quote, bringing positive vibes to the gloom and doom out there, generating some laughter, helping people crack a smile, and restoring our faith in humanity through humor is 100% what I'm about.
Okay.
I think that's commendable, and I think the best way to do it is to dress up like a serial killer. That's spot on.
Yep, and make sure you're hammered.
Right. Now, he claimed a few people asked him for a photo, and the Beach Patrol played the Halloween movie music when they saw him. He told a local TV station, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling Karens.
Oh, my gosh. I wonder how long you think about something like that if you're going to do that. Okay, I'm going to dress up like Michael Myers. And so maybe just to have enough confidence to do it, he had to drink heavily.
I would think so.
There we go.
A high school in Boston was forced to think outside the box for transportation to a field trip due to the ongoing national school bus driver shortage. The originally chartered bus fell through just days before the event, so the school hired a party bus.
Okay.
The bus included neon lights and stripper poles. English teacher Jim Mayers commented on Twitter, quote, when you promise hundreds of kids a fun day with their advisors, you make it happen, he wrote. He noted that the kids had a great field trip and didn't really care about the bus. He also shared one conversation he had with a student. Quote, Mr. Mayers, one student asked, is that a real stripper pole? Yes, he replied. Huh, the student said. I've never seen one before. Mr. Myers' response, me neither.
Wow, that was a little bit more of a field trip than the kids thought they would get. That's really interesting.
Reply from the teacher. What?
Outstanding.
Perfect response.
That's something that you would answer. That would be something that you would say.
Never seen that before. Yeah, me neither.
Boy, I'm thinking of those years when I'm having kids and buses, the different jobs I've had. I can't say that I've requested a party bus with a stripper pole. I mean, you got to, I guess if there's a shortage, you just have to make do. That's it.
There it is. Well, we make do. We have no neon lights here and no poles, but we will close up this week's collection of Klopp's Klips. Ken, time for another overachiever here now. It's not you. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep. But a British gardener is this week's overachiever. The gardener harvested 839 tomatoes from a single stem.
Wow.
Douglas Smith says he was careful to follow Guinness rules when growing and harvesting his tomatoes. Evidence from the attempt is being submitted for official recognition. If it becomes official, it would nearly double the previous record of 448 tomatoes from a single stem.
Oh, wow. Boy,
That's going to be a heck of a salad.
That is. And I guess you're going to be tired from picking all those tomatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. Impressive, though. Nice job, Douglas.
He may need some time to catch up
Oh.
on his sleep. That is another overachiever.
Is that another edition of You Can Really Buy This?
Mm-hmm.
Today's gift, I said gift, can be found on a site that rhymes with oxymoron. Here you go.
Okay.
Now, I found the gift that I'm going to be getting you for the holidays.
Oh.
I'm already planning for Christmas. I know there's going to be a shortage of trucks delivering and all that, so I want to make sure I got this in place. I've already purchased it. It is the gift you get someone who has everything. And it is called the gift of nothing. That's right, the gift of nothing. So for $3.87, you can receive the gift of absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Made by Creative Gift Company. So for the person who has everything, nothing is better, nothing is certain, and nothing is perfect. This is the ultimate in minimalism. Less is more or less. Open the package, but be aware, nothing will happen. So you receive a clear package where it says you received nothing. And it's just
nothing.
Nothing.
It's
a small box that's clear and there's nothing in it. It's nothing.
So you get
I think it's outstanding.
Get a box for $4.
$4. Well, you got to pay for shipping too. That's
$4. I'm sorry. Okay.
So we're up to $8.
Okay.
Now allow nothing to flow through your mind, and you can calm your soul. Enjoy the sensations. You too can discover that nothing really is better than something. Think about that. Nothing.
Nothing.
What do you see? Nothing.
Nothing.
Now I know the part that you're going to want to know about. I know you want reviews.
Yeah.
I know you want reviews. I know this is the part you've been waiting for. I
can't wait.
Here we go. There's only two, but they're both really good.
Okay.
So Cody gave this a 1-star review.
1 star.
There are like 8 spelling errors on this thing. You can't even spell nothing right. You spelled it as noting, Noting. I will be making my own cardstock to put in and use the bulb and words, but surely correctly. Anyone buying this could buy an empty Christmas ornament instead of this. What a piece of crap. That's the first review.
Not a good one from Cody.
No, not a good start. This person stayed anonymous.
Oh.
GIF was cute, but there were a few misspellings on which it was slightly annoying after paying money for basically nothing. I will be throwing this away. So there you go. Nothing, which people thought would be something, then goes to nothing again when you throw nothing in the trash. I want you to think about that.
Noting.
ING, which they spelled incorrectly at Noting.
Well, I have one thing to say about that. You know what I have? Nothing.
You can really buy it.
Time for another This Week in Cleveland history, September 21st, 1968. The Sterling Linder Davis department store, depending on what era you're familiar with that department store from. And it was at Euclid and East 13th. It finally closed its doors for the final time on that date, famous for its 60-foot Christmas tree display during the Christmas holiday season. And that was a little bit before my time and your time, Ken, but we're joined by John Grabowski, Cleveland historian, who I'm sure can provide a little perspective. Obviously, John, being a little bit younger than that time, Ken and I are more familiar with Halley's, Higbee's, May Company. So tell us about Sterling Linder Davis, and how did it fit into these other department stores?
Oh, it's interesting because it actually dates back to 1845, where Thomas William Beckwith started a dry goods store in Cleveland, and then that eventually a guy named Frederick Sterling and George Welsh joined that company, and it became known as Sterling and Welsh. And in 1909, it had been down on Lower Woodland Avenue, and it moved out to 11215 Euclid Avenue. So it had gone into that area that was just being developed around Playhouse Square and the department stores there. And then you had another store that was set up. There was a W.B. Davis company. It was a pioneer menswear company in Cleveland. And that was established in 1879. And then it merged with the Lindner Company, which was started by Morris Black and a man named Max Hellman and Max Lindner. And that was in April 1908. And it merged then with Davis. It eventually would merge with Davis. So he had Lindner and Davis and Sterling and Welsh, which would eventually merge together as Sterling Linder Davis. The name changes over time, but when you're talking about shopping downtown, once you got east of East 9th Street and you shop, that's where you got into the tonier stores. As a matter of fact, the first Higbee's used to be out in that area before it was lured back to the square for that structure that was built as part of the terminal group. So that was upscale shopping. If you went further down the street, you were at Halley's, which was one of the premier stores in the city. So it was a memory. And I think older Clevelanders will remember, it depends on how much money you had as to where you were going to shop. So you could go to the Bing Furniture store at Prospect and 4th Street, or you could go to the May Company basement for good deals and double eagle stamps. Steps up from May Companies, there was a William J. Taylor store on Prospect Avenue at one time. So we're looking at a time when shopping was done downtown, and that's before the suburbs grew, the malls grew, and the automobile grew, and of course, long before the internet and Amazon.com and everything else. So, but these were stores that really were sold by their decor, their decoration, and the way they displayed things. And that Christmas tree was magnificent. And if you want to see some of the ornaments, almost every Christmas season at the Western Reserve Historical Society, we haul out a couple of these huge Sterling Linder balls that hung on the tree. So it is a shopping memory that is pretty much being forgotten right now.
John, the question I have, it's a two-part question. One, with Sterling Linder, obviously, doing some research and things like, do you have an idea why it closed the doors? Do you have any idea why it didn't make it?
Yeah, it was purchased by a New York company called Allied. I think it was Allied Stores Corporation. And in 1960s, they were looking at the fact that they were just not making a profit on it. And so they closed it down. And if we look at Playhouse Square, that's the same era when which all the great movie houses are being closed there.
Yeah,
it's a point where the city is not only moving to suburbs, changing its shopping patterns, but it's losing population.
No, the 60-foot Christmas tree, as you guys were talking about a little bit, was that one of the first obvious department stores or anything in Cleveland that had anything like that? Were they kind of the fire starters when it came to that, or were there other stores doing the same?
I really don't know, Ken. I do know that we can get into the whole story of Christmas trees in Cleveland. There was one at Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church pre-Civil War the Germans put it up, and the Protestant establishment said there were pagans groveling before a shrub. So, and eventually there would be a Christmas tree on public square. So you have to. I'm sure there were holiday decor in there. You know, I'm not old enough to remember that, but one does remember the incredible animated displays in Higbee's window and everything else that were there. And you lose that when you go to a mall, because you walk into the mall, you don't walk around the outside. You can only see the interior window displays. So that was the sugar to invite you in. Those incredible store windows that were all around there. And when you got inside Sterling Linder, you had this huge Christmas tree. Unbelievable.
Well, they had a huge Christmas tree, but they didn't have Mr. Jingling.
No, that was down the street. And
Yep.
It was down the street and to the south.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess it was kind of a Christmas tree competition or Christmas display competition back in those days in downtown Cleveland amongst the department stores, but some interesting perspective on a department store that maybe bowed out a little bit before the others did, but nonetheless has an interesting heritage in Cleveland. And John, we thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Time to get in the ring with our favorite in-ring person, Steve Muehlhausen from DAZN. Steve, we usually go right into talking about wrestling. We're going to change it up today. And this is how long it's been since we had the opportunity to talk to you.
Right?
Back on August 29th, you were in Cleveland for the weekend for the Jake Paul fight. So certainly wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that and just your experience here in Cleveland.
First, I want to apologize. The fact we did not meet up. They had us running around like chickens without a head. It was absurd of all the media, which don't get me wrong, I was there for a reason, but I'm like, when do we get time to like have some fun?
You're working, man. You're on the company dime. You got to work.
But you know what, though? I will give this. I didn't know what to expect in Cleveland. I had a hell of a time there. It's definitely top 5 favorite trips, just because I'm all about the hospitality. This is me. I want to go somewhere. I want to feel the love. I want to feel a little special. I'm coming to your town. I'm going to spend a little money.
Sure.
But like everyone was just from the hotel staff. I stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn, which was right by Progressive Field.
Yep.
And great hotel. Went to a couple different restaurants. Places were nice. Progressive Field, gentlemen, better than I expected. It doesn't give a good vibe off.
Man.
Watching on TV, you're like, yeah, this, and I'm going to be, I know I'm going to get killed for this, but I always thought it was kind of a dump. Not going to lie. But I'm like, the great people at Showtime, they put some of us in the media in a suite they played the Red Sox that Friday night.
Yeah.
And beautiful ballpark. It was I even bought some Indian swag, guys.
Really?
I should have. I'm going to wear it next week. I got a beautiful Indian shirt. I bought my son an Indian shirt. He's worn it a couple times already. I got my son the T-ball bat with the ball and everything, the team ball. So
you got the whole 9 yards, man.
Well, here's what I know. The Indians ballpark doesn't have upper deck seats that go straight up like Comiskey Park. I mean, you go into the Comiskey Park and you might as well just keep it's like you're climbing a ladder, I think, isn't it?
But we're climbing the ladder. Oh, wait, we already won the division title.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
We climbed the ladder to the top of the division. And we are the 2021 AL Central Division champions. And I will have gear. You know what? I'm going to have a hat for you next week. And I'll wear my Indian shirt just to rub it in your guys' faces.
I love it.
All right.
Talking smack. But I will admit, Progressive Field was awesome. Food was fantastic. The field was beautiful. And I will say, fireworks show, top notch.
Yeah, they do a good job at that.
Yeah.
It was better than and I said this I was saying this, I was texting my wife while it was going on. Better than Guaranteed Rate Field here in Chicago. I'm not gonna lie, it was fantastic, but everything was great until the fight.
Yeah.
There's some rude people in that arena. I gotta say, the queue, their security, pretty awful.
Okay.
That security
was Ken, cross off calves we won't have anybody on from the arena on this show. Between Steve and me, we're
horrible. So the start, like, the media, we're there to cover a fight.
Yeah.
We're there to cover the evening, the extravaganza. And you got these buffoons. And I know people are, and it was full. They sold it out. Over 16,000. Cleveland showed out for Jake Paul.
Okay.
But they're standing in front of us. We can't see. It was hard. Some of the fights, it was hard. I put it on Twitter. I had the arena DM me on Twitter. They're like, we were so sorry, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, they're like, we'll be right by the media road. I'm thinking, yeah, right. You're going to come in like an hour. They came within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Had that cleared out.
Well, there you go.
So
power of the pen. The power of the pen. You got it done, Steve. Just so you could see. Just so you could do your job.
I just want to do my job. But security was, for a while, for the first 3/4 of the evening was pretty crappy.
Okay.
But when it mattered, when Jake Paul was getting ready to get in the ring, sights were good. But no, the whole week was a good time. It really was. You could feel the anticipation. The crowd booed the hometown boy, which I was pretty surprised by.
Yeah.
But the whole production, I thought the aesthetics were very good. Showtime did a really good job. I thought the promotion was good. I thought Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley did a great job promoting the fight. There was a brawl that was literally right next to me at the press conference on Thursday. That was a great way to introduce myself to Cleveland, Ohio. It literally right next to me. Hey, but you know what though? It did like 4 million views on social media. That little minute video I posted. So I'll take the love. But it was fun. The fight was better than what I thought it was going to be. But no, I say overall experience. I can't wait to come back to Cleveland because I know Jake Paul wants to fight there. He wants to fight there more. So I imagine the next time I get to Cleveland, Ohio, we will get together and hopefully they don't have us running around like a bunch of crazy people. But it was a ton of fun. No, great fight, great experience.
Okay.
I know Ted's going to ask a question very soon here on wrestling. I have one last question about Jake Paul. So Dana White made some interesting comments not too long ago about Jake Paul and all that, and talking about who he's been fighting and all that stuff. What's the next route for Jake Paul? Who's next in the mix for him to fight?
It seems like it's going to be Tyson Fury's half brother, Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury not the same. I'll look at it this way: the guys Jake Paul's faced and the guys Tommy Fury have faced, and I have no problem saying this. Jake Paul's fought the better opposition. So I feel like right now they're at about the same level. That's how I feel about it. That fight would make a lot of money. Tommy Fury's really big in the UK. I know that fight did really well in the UK. It did really well here in the United States. So probably going to be right now aiming towards the second biggest pay-per-view overall for boxing overall in the year. Third biggest in 2021 if you're including the UFC. So I think that fight here, I think would do it because Tommy Fury got a massive reaction when he came out. Cleveland knew who he was. They knew who he was very quickly. Got a great reaction. Jake's a big name. Jake's one of the biggest stars in the sport. I think that fight's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened in Cleveland. I know Jake wants to fight in December. So we'll see. But I think that is the fight to make next. I know there's been some offers. Tommy Fury hasn't been overly thrilled, which I'm surprised by because he's never made $1 million in his life for a single fight. So, but I get the side of this fight's going to generate massive revenue. I want my cut. I get it. It's all negotiation. But I think when it comes down to it, all parties will find a number. This fight will happen, whether it's in December or not, remains to be seen. I think more likely January, maybe February, but I think end of this year, beginning of Q1 in 2022.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess you'll be back in Cleveland pretty soon here, apparently.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
As long as it's not snowing, and I'll put it this way, though. Your plane flights to Cleveland are ridiculous, and I drove. That drive's not bad. Not a bad drive.
No, it's not awful. I've done it many a times. It's not that bad. No.
But the but the airfares, I couldn't justify to DAZN paying $300 for airfare for an hour and 10-minute flight. That was kind of that was a little absurd. I'm sorry. No thanks. I won't do that ever.
All right, let's move to wrestling. And since last we spoke, there have been a few changes here. A lot of folks didn't think that AEW were going to land both CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. Not only did they bring in CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, but they also brought in Adam Cole directly off of WWE TV.
I hated cutting you off there, but I had to say baby.
What?
When you said Adam Cole, I had to say baby.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Gotta say that, Ted.
Adam Cole, baby. So, what, this is, I would think, a huge coup for AEW. They get the hottest free agent, a former WWE World Champion, and a guy who was on their TV, WWE's TV, like what, a week, 2 weeks before?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a trifecta that anybody would want.
It's a good time to be all elite wrestling, and I remember when we got to that week and I'm like, man, I cannot wait until this week is over, just because it was covering the Pacquiao, SummerSlam, going to Cleveland for Jake Paul. And I'm like, I want this week to be over. And when I got, but at the end of the day, I had so much fun. And when you're watching that all go down, you're thinking you're going to see Danielson, but then you see Adam Cole first, and you're like, wait, what? And I'm like, the crowd's going nuts. I'm like, all right, because I knew Danielson was supposed to be there. We had talked about it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, maybe they're going to wait, which would have been cool. But then he came out 3 minutes later, and the crowd just like completely lost their mind. So a very, 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 very cool time. Really, really is. And it was a great reaction to all the guys. The way the stories have been told so far for both guys have been fantastic. If you're an AEW fan, man, it's been a heck of a ride so far. And if you're just all about the WWE, which is perfectly fine, man, they're in a little bit of trouble, I would say.
All right, now NXT. There's been some shuffling there, and there's speculation that it's a result of AEW's success. So this is a couple different questions all in one here. From what you're hearing, is that the case? Triple H seems to have been removed or lost some of his power in NXT. Maybe you could clarify that. And then they rebooted NXT or made it NXT 2.0. Is this all reaction to AEW's success? What can you tell us?
100% correct.
Wow.
They got their butts handed to them. They only won like 1 week. Vince doesn't handle losing very well. And I don't blame him. I've never met anyone that's a great loser. So I think, but in that essence, that's why they did it. A lot of people are skeptical of NXT 2.0. And I remember I talked to Tommaso Ciampa last week about it, and the points he made really made sense. And, it seems like they're going with the youth movement, which is fine. But it's about which guys are going to push. But you're also now doing it in front of a worldwide audience. And you got a network that's paying you $35 million a year. And I bet USA's not happy. Oh, now you're going this route. So I think that's why you're still seeing the Ciampas and the Garganos and the Pete Dunnes. You're still going to get a mixture of those guys in. But that Braun Breaker, I'm all in. The name, horrible. But take all that away. You look at the person, I think that's the right move. He's going to be really special. Not a fan of the reboot, but what they've done so far, they have me intrigued. They have a lot of people intrigued, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and it's how you continue. They know what's going on. WWE knows AEW's there. And that's why you're seeing, well, unless you watched the end of Extreme Rules last night, very good show until the end. And that ending was very typical 1990s WWE buffoonery. And if people want to wonder why there's more interest in AEW, not just from wrestling fans, but also national media right now, what you saw at the end of the show last night is why. And why Vince McMahon decided to pivot with NXT and kind of more or less reduce the power, without officially saying it, reducing the power of one Paul Levesque. And we're going to see what happens. It is that saying, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Well, it seems like WWE is reacting a lot more into AEW to more than what AEW is reacting. They're not reacting. They're just kind of just going, staying the course, doing their thing. And you look at tonight. They promoted during Extreme Rules last night, kicking off tonight's Raw. Big E and Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship.
Wow.
They're copying off Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. Trying to say, hey, AEW did it. It worked out for them. We're going to go do it too. Not stealing. They're not trying. I get it. That's just smart. I'm totally cool with that. But you see, they know the game. They know what's going on. They know what people are interested in. They're trying everything. They're giving away. And the thing AEW did, they didn't make that a title match. WWE's making this a title match to kick things off. So you could tell when Vince is panicking and he knows he's getting nudged, people are coming at him, he reacts. It's not always right, but he reacts. And this is another reaction to what AEW is doing by having Big E cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase on Raw. Bringing back Brock Lesnar. Bringing back Becky Lynch a month early. Having this title match tonight. All reactionary moves where AEW's just staring the course. They're doing their thing, and they're not worried about anything the WWE is doing. Number 2 should be worried about number 1 and trying to do the move, trying to be making those moves. Number 1 shouldn't be making all the reactionary moves to number 2. That's how I've always viewed things. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I concur. When you've done something for such a long time and had success, all of a sudden you start looking behind you and worried about what all your competition's doing and then starting to steal some of their ideas and do some of the things they're doing. Unfortunately, people are going to figure that out real quick. And I think that's what's happened. And their ratings are going down. I mean, for their last event, AEW had over 22,000 people in attendance, which is one of the biggest attendance they've had for a live show, which I think is bigger than what, certainly some of the shows that WWE has had and the talent that they have and all that. And I'll be honest with you guys. You guys follow wrestling much more than I do. I follow it from afar. I watch as much as I can, but you guys follow it much more closely. I'm more in tune with what's going on and know more people in AEW than I do in WWE.
You're not the first. You're not the first one that said that. I know I got plenty of friends that don't even watch WWE and they will just watch AEW. You're like, I couldn't even tell you 10 guys over there. I can turn on AEW and I know I can learn in a couple of minutes who a lot of some of the big guys are, but then I'm learning other guys and it's much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's much more of an easy watch. And I'm watching this pay-per-view last night. If this wasn't my job, I would have been like, hey, not a chance. This card was just okay. Yeah. But the show ended up being really good. And until the main event, and the main event was good until the last 5 minutes where it was like, what the hell am I watching? This is pretty stupid. Yeah. And that's just what separates the companies right now. One has their finger on the pulse, and the other one's lagging far behind. And it's the company that has a 50+ year head start. Yeah. And that should not be the case. And that's just a matter of A, knowing your audience, and B, the person running the ship for the company that's been out for 2 years is willing to listen to the talent, listen to other ideas from other executives, where you got one guy who's, and this isn't a knock on old people. I have no problem with people being 75, 76 years old. That's part of life. But they shouldn't be running multi-billion-dollar companies who don't have a clue of what's going on in society. Yeah. And when people are in tune with. It's such a major problem. And he's so stubborn, he doesn't want to listen to others. when you're not willing to evolve and see what's going on in front of you and around you, it's the old adage, listen to the fans. At the end of the day, the fans are going to tell you everything you want to know. Ratings, fans, the demos, the numbers, the people, they're always going to tell you. And when you're not willing to adapt, AEW's nipping, and they're charging, not just nipping, they're now charging fast. And that's a train that's not going to stop. I'm telling you guys that now.
Well, I think the changes for WWE will happen when they lose out on a lot of cash. Because you know this, Steve, cash is involved. And when people aren't making their money like they're supposed to, drastic things happen. I do eventually think that's going to happen with WWE, with AEW taking over, taking away some of their shares of ratings, taking away a lot of their, people that they've had for a long time that have followed them and they don't do it anymore. I think that's what's going to make the change, if you ask me. I really do. That's what's going to make the change. So we'll see. Now you hit on one thing. Go ahead, Ted.
Steve, I also wanted to ask you one other thing that has to go hand in hand with these reactions to AEW's success. From what I have read, Brock Lesnar's return was reactionary to some extent to AEW signing CM Punk. Can you talk about that? And also SummerSlam, I know you were there. Talk about that event. And I was surprised WWE had a very small staging setup, if you even want to call it a stage, unlike their other big stadium shows and even arena shows. So what's going on with Brock Lesnar and what's going on with the production here?
With Brock Lesnar, that is 100% correct. That it was really looking like he was going to be coming back the beginning of next year. It was either going to be the beginning of next year, it was going to be later on in 2022. And it was purely a reactionary move. They came up to him, it's about 3 weeks, right at the beginning of August. They had come up to him and they started talking really heavily. They had been talking casually. Now what fans back were like, and they, knowing that Punk was going to be coming and when he was going to be coming, they wanted, like we were talking about before, reactionary moves. And this was another one. And when we ended up seeing Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, he'll be returning to the ring on October 21st. But negotiations went very quick. I've been told 8 to 12 matches. The contract runs out after the WrestleMania in 2023, which is scheduled to be in Los Angeles. So anywhere from 8 to 12 matches between starting at SummerSlam through, I think it's WrestleMania 40. If my math is, WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 40 out in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Steve, my question is to talk about, obviously, another wrestler that's been around for a long time. I know he asked for his release from the WWE, and I thought there was a thought process of him going to AEW. I'm talking about Ric Flair, but there's been some other information that's come out now with an episode that was on Vice about this plane ride, and it's all of a sudden now people are jumping away. And then I heard WWE took away some of his likenesses from WWE and things like that. What can you tell us about that? What is going on with Ric Flair?
This is a shame. I'm just going to be honest. Did you guys watch the episode? The Vice Dark Side of the Ring episode?
I have not.
I'm in the process of watching it.
A lot about it.
Give it a watch. Those guys did a great job. Very, very good job. Evan Husney and I forget the other guy's name. Evan Husney and I forget Jason something. I forget his last name off the top of my head. But they did and I talked to them. I'm actually going to air that podcast this week. They did
Jason
a fantastic.
Hervey.
No, not Jason. No, Jason something. I'm losing my. Now I'm thinking about the Wonder Years. Thanks a lot. I'm thinking about Kevin Arnold. Thanks, Tom Savage. Thanks a lot, Ted. But now I can't get my mind up there. But Ric Flair, we knew some of the stories, but watching the documentary and seeing just the anguish and the pain in that woman, Heidi Doyle.
By the way, it's Jason Eisner.
Jason Eisner. you see Heidi Doyle and you look at her face, and you're going to see the anguish and the pain in her face and her eyes. And it's like, she went through an experience she definitely she wants to forget. And still to this day is still horrified by it. And that's absolutely horrific. That's absolutely terrible. And that's awful. And I don't blame WWE. Would have done the same thing. I don't blame, the New York City Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame them either. I'm shocked Car Shield went right back. They put a pause on it, and then they're airing Ric Flair commercials again, and that was pretty disappointing. And you don't force yourself on anybody that doesn't want to be touched. Man or woman. And I said it to some people. I think Ric Flair's a scumbag. I've lost all the respect I had for Ric Flair. He's gone.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no other way around it. When he's trying to defend himself, and I get it, he's got to defend himself. He's poised to lose a lot of money, and I know him and AEW had been talking, and I don't know if there was pen put to paper. I've asked, they will not respond on that. All I was told was, when I asked him, because he was set to debut on the Dynamite last week in New York.
Huh.
Obviously, he wasn't on the show. But that was the running plan from what I had been told. Now, I don't know if he's still going to come in. AEW has been very, which I don't blame him, very coy about I can't see Tony Khan bringing him in. No, I just can't. Tony Khan's he's a wrestling fan, but he's also a very smart businessman. And I think he understands, and this is what we were talking about, finger on the pulse situation. I don't think he's going to go anywhere near this for now. I think he's going to tell Rick, hey, let's see what happens. Let's die it down. I think he's going to talk to Rick. I think he's going to ask Rick, hey, or if he hasn't already, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
All right.
So we'll see. But right now, it's a hard situation. It's a delicate situation, but I don't feel bad for Ric Flair in any way, shape, or form.
Understand that. Yep.
All right. Well, let's quickly hit a wrestling rewind.
I've been missing it.
It was September 22nd, 1984. Steve, I'm going to doubt that you know what
Say the date one more time. I heard 1984. The first
September 22nd, 1984. It's not a date that people would necessarily know, but when I tell you why it's important, you will smile right away. That's the date that Bobby the Brain Heenan debuted with the WWF. Now, he was originally brought in to manage Jesse Ventura, who unfortunately had to go into semi-retirement because of some blood clots. But as we know, Bobby the Brain Heenan found a way to be a pretty good manager during his run in the WWF for the entirety of his run. As far as I'm concerned, greatest manager, greatest color commentator to ever stand at ringside or put on a headset. Your thoughts, Steve?
Oh my God, greatest manager of all time. It's not even close.
Okay. Yeah. And the lines he would come up with on commentary, just too numerous to mention, but he's a highlight reel. If you haven't, do yourself a favor and watch the Bobby the Brain Heenan it was a DVD. I'm guessing it's on the network somewhere. I don't know that you'd be able to find it given the navigation, but the Bobby the Brain Heenan DVD that they put out was tremendous. So
no, he is definitely greatest manager of all time, arguably the greatest color commentator of all time. It's either him or Jerry Lawler. That's just all on preference. I prefer Bobby Heenan, but I know some people, but I also have no problem if people say Jerry Lawler. I would have I'd be more than happy. I would side with people on that too if the argument is strong enough. But no, one of the best. I always remember too, if you guys remember this, when he came out with Andre for WrestleMania 3 in the main event with Hogan, and that suit. Oh my God, that suit was phenomenal.
Tails. He had tails on.
He did. It was awesome.
No, but just one of, like you said, Teddy, it was quick-witted. He had a very, very sharp mind. Definitely a one of a kind. And the closest thing to him that we'll ever see again in this day of age is Paul Heyman, just in terms of managers and et cetera. But I don't think we'll ever see anyone like that ever again.
Ken, do you think CM Punk gets a lot of fan mail in AEW?
Probably just a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
well,
a
he'd
bit.
get a lot more, but his wife ran out of stamps. We'll leave it on that note, Steve. Thank you very much for getting in the ring with us. You can follow Steve on Facebook, Twitter, read him at DAZN, DAZN. And Steve, there you go. We're out of the ring.
Oh no, not a dad joke.
Ken, what do you call a fake noodle?
Fake noodle. I'm not sure.
An impasta.
That joke was horrible.
Ken, we're coming to the end of episode 73. Glad to be back with you. Glad to be back behind this microphone. Also glad to be vertical and above ground.
That's half the battle.
That is half the battle. Next week on our show, Ken, it's going to be October, which means it's the month of Halloween.
Okay.
And so because of that, we have a medium, a psychic, a medium Mary is going to join us. And I'm hoping we're going to give this a shot. She says she can commune with sometimes deceased people, sometimes deceased pets. So we're going to see if she can, you have a deceased pet.
I do have a couple. Yeah, I have a couple. I have a couple in mind, and we can see what we can figure out here.
We'll see if she can talk to that pet and see how the pet's doing, I guess. So that'll be
great.
exciting. Yeah. What's the pet's name? Who are we going to try to talk to next week?
I will go with Duffy. Duffy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Duffy.
Yes.
I think I've met Duffy.
You met Duffy. Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. You playing golf this week?
You know what? I don't think so. I played last week multiple times, but Ted, time has come where the summer has ended. We are now in fall, and we've had a lot of rain. And so unfortunately, golf is nearly coming to an end because it's starting to get colder. I would say probably a month left, and then that'll be it.
Okay.
Put the clubs away, and we'll just try it again next year. So,
all right.
But I love fall golf. It's for the first time in a long time when I play golf, because I sweat heavily. I'm not sure if you do, but I do in most activities. And every time I play golf, it feels like I've lost about 5 or 6 pounds. So the fall golf is great because it's cooler, and that doesn't happen. So.
Oh, you know what else we're going to try to talk about next week? Something interesting that might appear on Twitter. A fantasy football bet. We'll have more details.
Okay. Interesting.
We might have that, correct?
That's a possibility, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have more details on that. But you and I are in a fantasy league with several other folks, and from time to time, there's some friendly wagering, and so
Yes.
we'll see what we can come up with to talk about that on the show in a couple of weeks.
We don't have to talk about our teams, right? I mean, I'm going to be 0-3 here pretty soon. So
I'm doing okay so far.
I know, that's why you're the champ.
Well, we'll see what happens. So
King of fantasy football.
2 weeks from today, we will be back with more nonsense, and we'll have a medium with us and 2 larges.
Jeez. More like a small over here. Well, I wish it was. So
well, all right.
I'm large Marge right now. I'm just packing it on, getting ready for the winter, kind of like the squirrels. So that's what I'm doing. Ted, with that, have a great week, 2 weeks, and obviously look forward to not talking to you for the next 2 weeks until we do the podcast. That'll be great. And when we do talk, it'll be about nothing. Just remember that. And we're also Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Anchor.fm. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And by Westminster AV. Custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.